So, what is hell going to be like? That's what we're going to talk about today and the various different ideas across the world. What is hell? I'm Car Wizard. You guys see me on YouTube. You see me on Motor Trend TV, Car Issues, Car Trek. And this is the certified paranormal guru, Thomas Durant.
I'm a television producer, but really I'm here because Wizard and I bonded over the paranormal, and I've been researching paranormal phenomenon of all types for over 20 years.
I never knew that there was a paranormal demonologist guru behind the camera.
Well, you kind of keep that secret. Most people don't really believe in any of this. And in fact, that's kind of why we're here, because can you believe that?
And that is also the name of the channel. Can you believe that? If you haven't watched the first episode, you should definitely go check that out. So, on this episode, the big topic is going to be what is hell? You hear people all the time, they get into an argument, one of them will say, go to hell. But what exactly is it? There's different ways to look at hell, Tommy. There's so many different cultures, there's different beliefs. Even within the Christian religion, different denominations even see things differently.
I'm curious to hear about that because for me, it's interesting that not only do you have various world religions over centuries, but you have, even within your own faith, different ideas. Maybe they're just small differences, but I need to pick your brain on that.
Are you ready, Tommy?
Oh, I'm ready to dive deep into hell. Although I don't want to go there. Let's just talk about it, not visit.
No, I don't want to go there either. I don't think anyone desires to go there, but maybe there's a few weirdos out there. Who knows?
Okay, Mr. Simpson. Looks like your punishment is to be boiled alive for all eternity in a lake of blood.
All right.
Just wait over there.
Oh, there's a line!
I've heard preachers describe it before. It's like there's a cabin in the woods that's lit up very well inside the cabin. People that are outside in the woods could see into the cabin, but the people that are inside the cabin probably can't see outside very well, can they? That's kind of what it is. It says in Luke chapter 13, you will see the list Abraham and Moses and all these different people. You'll be able to see into heaven. You'll know that it's there. They won't be able to see you. In Mark chapter 3, it actually talks about being consumed by worms, and the worms never die. There's no magic pill you can take to make them go away. Also, it mentions being consumed by an unquenchable fire and brimstone. But somehow this is all in absolute darkness. Some of the things I just listed are kind of maybe what it would be like, the experience of it, or some of the things you might expect to see there. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but you'll definitely feel it. So the definition of it would be a physical, permanent, never-ending separation from God. And knowing all this time, this God guy, he's always been real, and I didn't choose the right path. And here I am. And it's unchangeable. There's no time limit, irreversible, permanent for billions, trillions, quadrillions of years.
That's the part that gets me, is it's one thing to think, here's this place you go to and you're just eternally suffering. But then to be able to have like a window into this other world you could have been part of, to see what you're missing out on, that right there is, I think, better or worse than any kind of torture that a demon can inflict on you.
Imagine the anger. There's going to be a point where it's going to be uncontrollable anger. You come in contact with any other person that's down there with you, there's just going to be fury, gnashing of teeth, anger. I'm here. I don't want to be here. There's nothing I can do about it. It's not a good place. As you can see behind me, it's probably not very enjoyable.
I would say I don't really need the kind of tan that hell would give me, but it's interesting you bring up this idea of the anger, because there's a school of thought in the demonology circles of these spirits of people that have been in hell for a long period of time, or been in this other dimension of torment and anguish. They start to become demonic creatures themselves. They start turning and degrading into these ferocious beasts that then want to come back and harm humanity because they themselves have been wronged. And I know that's not quite with the Christian tradition, because obviously Christianity believes that all demons are fallen angels, but we look at some of these lesser demonic spirits as potentially having some sort of root in humanity.
I actually, you just mentioned that it maybe wouldn't jive with Christianity. I actually find that it would, because just as you just said, a demon, biblically, not, I mean, I'm talking about all over the world, but biblically, a demon is an angel that's just been consumed by anger and hatred. They themselves have been cast into this place that they're like, well, I'm stuck here.
Ah, hell
So,
no, as they would say.
yeah, oh hell no, I don't want to go there. Yeah.
All these things you talk about from the Christian perspective, that there's this fire, there's this torment, there's this anguish, and even being able to kind of know and see that there's another path that could have been taken. You see
Yeah.
that time and time again in historic references or other beliefs to what they would deem as some sort of hell or purgatory. I especially like seeing that because then it sort of relates directly to one of the earliest monotheistic religions, which is Zoroastrianism.
I've
And
heard of that. Yeah.
they believed in a single God, one big, giant, all seeing deity who wanted you to be a good person. And they were not judgmental. Like the whole belief system was, hey, you can believe whatever you want. And even in their afterlife, if you didn't believe, but you were a good person, you didn't go to heaven per se, but you didn't go to hell. You went to kind of like a nice, happy place, but it
Okay.
wasn't quite as great. But their version of hell, I mean, almost verbatim, sounds like what the Christian belief is. There's the gnashing of teeth and your skin getting peeled off. Like this is all mentioned in the Zoroastrian version of hell. But then there's also things like snakes that are being used as whips by the demons to tear you apart. Or
Wow.
demons would cut you up and then you'd come into a bunch of pieces and then you'd reform just to do it all over again. And a lot of other like really gross stuff that I won't mention. But that whole idea came years before Christ was even born. Like this, we're
Right.
talking somewhere around 600 before Common Era, before Christ, when their belief system was happening and flourishing. So I love to see that because historically, then I'm like, did Christianity borrow some of those ideas? And a lot of people do think that Zoroastrianism fathered the Abrahamic faiths, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. But obviously, like as a Christian, that's probably not going to be the most popular idea for you.
No, I think from a Christian perspective, if you go back into Genesis or the beginning, all those writings and stuff, even before Jesus had ever been on earth and any of the teachings of Jesus were there, there was the Old Testament. And how far back does that go? According to the Bible, it would be to the beginning of time as far as earth is concerned. But do you know anything about the Egyptian underworld?
I do, as a matter of
Okay.
fact. When you died, you were in a place that was terrifying. There were demons everywhere. If you did survive, or if you had assistance from the living, you were hopefully making it to the god Anpu, or as most people know him, Anubis, where
Hmm.
Anubis would then take your heart and weigh it against a feather. And if your heart was light because you were a good person and didn't do terrible things, then you'd be allowed to go through some more trials to get to heaven version for Egyptians, right? But if
Right.
not, here's the kicker. You would suffer second death, and second death was permanent. And that was if your heart weighed heavy, you were fed to the demon Amut, which was this giant crocodile hippo type thing that just
Oh, wow.
nasty. Yeah, not fun, not fun at
No,
all.
it doesn't sound like, I mean, any way you look at it, that hell's a fun place to be.
No, true. Even with the Egyptian, and you know what? People will always say, "Oh, Buddhists, they're the nicest people," right? Well, Buddhists have hell too, which was several thousands of hells depending on what you did. Some were cold, some were hot, some were just torturous. And depending on your level of bad, you would go to one of these hells. However, unlike Christianity and Zoroastrianism, those hells were temporary because they always believed that there was a karmatic cycle or a rebirth that could happen. So at some point, you've served your time in hell like a prison sentence. They're like, okay, now you can be born again out of hell and don't mess it up this time, guys.
Maybe after a few cycles, you actually get it right. Yeah, I could totally see that. I could get where they come from on that. It definitely makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, I think eventually, like, you would atone for your sins, and that's where I get confused with biblical scripture, because you have Old Testament, which God's like, "No, you're damned. That's it. Game over." But then Jesus comes along. He's like, "Yeah, but I love everyone. I can forgive everyone. It's okay." So I wonder if in Christianity there's this idea that maybe it isn't so permanent when you go to hell. Maybe there is a way to get out of it. Have you heard of that or talked to anybody that may have that belief?
No, there's an idea that during the Old Testament, God was like, I'm sad that I've made man. I've repented that I've made man. I think I just want to do away with them. And Jesus actually comes down and says, I think there's a way. And that's when he descends to earth, and things change at that point. Then you get into the New Testament. And it's believed through him now that how you get to heaven, not the Old Testament ways. But regardless of how you look at it, there's still always hell. It's always there. It's been there in the Old Testament. It's there in the New Testament. So it sounds like, regardless of what time period you lived in, it was somewhere that you definitely could go.
Yeah, and a lot of different people have the same belief that a place like that exists. And in fact, like modern times, you can look at folks that have had near-death experiences and hear their accounts of not going through the tunnel of light to go to the afterlife. Instead, they're sucked down into a place of darkness that
Hmm.
they can't see what's going on around them, but all they can do is feel pain and feel scared. And
Yeah.
to me, I'm like, well, better start doing the right thing, or
Yeah.
I don't wanna end up there. But here's another question. I've had a lot of people of the Christian faith tell me that I'm automatically excluded from heaven simply because I'm not Christian. Is that a popular belief?
Yeah, I think if you look at various different religions throughout the world, there would be, even with Islam or different, in that particular religion, there would be the belief that if you don't do X or Y, then your only other result is hell.
Yeah.
And in the Christian religion, and the current belief is that Christ is the only way to heaven, and you have to believe in Him. He's the forgiveness of the sins and the way that you can actually go to the Father and be with Him, because you can't be in the presence of sin. If you don't do those things, then yes, you're going to hell. And there's no, it's very, one thing that's very clear in the Bible. It says there is no gray area. You are for Him or against Him. You have to choose which camp you want to be in there, but there's no gray area.
I'm in danger.
Hey, look, wizard, if I see you in heaven, we'll know it's okay. If I don't,
Yeah,
then, I will be looking for you from down below and just getting angry at you.
I hope not, Tommy. I hope not.
As many people as are on this planet, there's probably just as many ideas of what hell will be like. So it
Hmm.
almost feels personalized. And in fact, like, I have sort of come to the belief that this existence right now is as close to hell as we get, because human condition, if we are in a place of suffering for long enough, people endure, people are able to survive and adapt, because that's just kind of how we're built. But the fact that we have ups and downs and loss and love and these contradictory things happening throughout our lives, I can't think of anything more tormenting than that. So I almost wonder if this whole idea of hell is kind of an allegory for us going through life. There are moments of heaven, there are moments of hell, but ultimately, the best thing to do is just be as good a person as you can be and keep moving forward.
Yeah, I respect that. I mean, everyone's going to have different beliefs, and as long as people can get along and just say, "Hey, that's what you do, and this is what I do," I think we can all get along. Another thing I want to bring up before we close here: the path to hell, the path to heaven. And it says that the gate to heaven is very narrow, and very few will actually get there. But it says the gate to hell is wide, and the path is broad, and many or most will go that way. For how many can you expect to go there? That's what it says.
Hmm. Well, sounds like I won't be seeing you there then, wizard.
I
If the
won't know.
rapture
I won't know.
happens and you disappear, I'll wave to you as you float off into the ether.
I hope that doesn't end up being the case.
But what I love about this, though, wizard, is even though you and I don't agree, we're in a
Right.
time in this country in America right now where people are, they don't agree, but they're angry about it, and they're angry at each other, or they're angry at themselves. I love the fact that we are friends and we can disagree on this, which is a fundamental belief. You are a Christian. I am a non-Christian, but we can come together and we can still have these conversations. And hopefully you at home want to have these conversations with us. Please leave a comment below and tell us what you think. We do read the comments. And as a matter of fact, Wizard, I have questions from our lovely viewers, which are few right now, but hopefully will grow.
Hopefully a lot more, yes.
It would be great because this is good, fun information for people. And it might actually get you out of hell. So
It could. It's possible.
Riley 13754 asks you, Wizard, can a married couple have one go to heaven and the other one go to hell?
Absolutely. Think of a situation where there's a very abusive husband and a spouse has been beaten almost to an inch of their life for decades. And that person that's doing the abuse dies in that sin and that separation from God, and they die that way. But yet the spouse that was receiving the abuse actually goes to church or in a biblical relief, finds Christ, goes to heaven. I don't find that the other spouse would follow along with them. That spouse has made their choice. This one made a choice. They just happen to end up in separate locations. Yes, I totally think that that's plausible. It's probably already happened as far as from a Christian perspective all over the world.
And honestly, if you're out there and you're beating your spouse, I don't think you're a very good human being anyway. So
No.
I'll see you down south when we get there. One Stop Shop asks me, oh, I got a question. It's great. Will they have popsicles in hell?
I don't know if they'll last very long if they do.
Well, it depends on which hell you're talking about. You go to the Christian hell, yeah, it'll probably melt and you won't be able to see it. So you'll be poking yourself in the eye with it. Or if you go to like one of the cold hells from Buddhism or Zoroastrianism or even Dante's Inferno, when he gets down to the last layer of hell, I'm sure your popsicle would work. I don't think you'll be really wanting to eat it.
Maybe like waking up from a surgery like early and they're cutting on you. Are you wanting to eat a popsicle at that moment?
Sounds great. I mean, anything to relieve yourself, right? You know?
Right, yeah.
Okay, another question. Deus Ex Machismo 89 asks Wizard, if you were in heaven, what car would you have to drive? And if you were in hell, what car would the devil make you drive? I guess that's a fun throwback to your other channel.
In heaven, I think it'd be a 67 Cadillac. A white one, of course. Be smooth, comfortable. Yeah, I could just live in paradise and cruise in this awesome Cadillac. If I were to go to hell and there was a car that was given to me maybe for torture, I'm a big guy, so probably like a Geo Metro or something.
I like the Geo Metro.
But stuffed inside of it and can't move. And
really, a Geo Metro? They're not that bad, are they?
well, I don't know what's smaller than that.
Lotus are pretty small.
Yeah, maybe one of those then.
All right, here's another question. This one from Nebraska bred Husker. In Christianity, all the fallen angels, demons, were sent to hell. How can they be here possessing people on this earthly plane?
I would be led to believe that the universe can be traveled by spirits and all over the place. Wherever hell is at, they could leave that and come to earth, just like angels can come to earth from wherever heaven is. It would be not uncommon to find them on earth because we're here.
Well, Wizard, I think that's a great point. I have a few ideas, but I want to save that for when we actually talk about demons, because although I do think there is that idea that they can whisper in our ear and they're here to influence us, both angels and demons on this plane, I think there's some other factors we should look at. So, when we get to it, I think that'll be a good topic of conversation, but that's not what's up next, Wizard. Oh, no.
No.
Next.
No.
One of my favorite subjects, and it's actually one I know the least about, but it's super fascinating, and that is the wide world of cryptids.
Bigfoot and things like that?
You're darn right. Bigfoot and things like that. My favorite, Chupacabra. Come on, the goat sucker. Awesome. So we get to really talk about some fun stuff in the next episode. And these aren't ghosts. These aren't demons. These are things that exist here with us like wild animals. Although I kind of know some people that are more feral than these things.
There are no abominable snowmen. There are no Sasquatches. There are no big feet.
You guys definitely want to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And just like Tommy has mentioned, let us know in the comments some questions you have, some things you want to talk about in future episodes. As we mentioned at the beginning of the video, we're getting a few viewers here and there. We're hoping to grow that to even more, and it will definitely help if you hit the subscribe button. Tell your friends, tell your family. Let's all discuss it. Let's all talk about it together. That's what we're here for. We're not here to fight or argue or name call. It's just really fun to talk about it, Tommy.
Although, Wizard, you did tell me I'm going to hell, so I don't know if I should not take offense to that.
That's up to you, Tommy. That's your choice. However you want to do that, that's up to you.
Ask your questions about cryptids, and we will bring them up next week. We will say your name, and we'll try to respond to as many comments as we get on the channel. So please write comments, have discussions. We'll join in because this is a fun topic, and yeah, it may not be the best thing for Thanksgiving dinner to do with your family, but I kind of think it is.
Depends on who you are. Some people would love that. All right, well, thanks guys for watching. There's a lot more great content to come. We'll see you next time.